Despite what you might think, most restaurants don't lose customers because of mistakes. They lose customers because they go quiet. And the problem is, you usually don't notice it happening. In today's video, I want to explain what I like to call the visibility trap and why being invisible hurts restaurants a lot more than being imperfect. Now, before we go any further, I want to clarify what I mean by being imperfect and what I don't mean. So, I'm not talking about being bad. I'm not talking about bad food, unsafe kitchens, or disrespectful service. Those things matter always. What I mean is just an off night where things just don't go perfectly. Maybe the customer experiences slower service during a rush, or maybe a dish comes out of the kitchen that just misses the mark, or maybe you have a staff shortage that puts unneeded pressure on the floor. Those things happen every day in real restaurants. And the truth is, most customers forgive those types of experiences. But what customers don't forgive is forgetting you exist. Now, a lot of small independent restaurant owners buy into the myth that, well, we'll just wait this out. There's a common belief in restaurants that, especially during slow periods, you can just kind of wait out the storm, if you will. Traffic is down, energy is low, budgets feel tight, so marketing pauses. Now, this isn't intentional, it's not as a marketing strategy, it just stops, it just ends. And in that moment, that move feels responsible. If things are slow, after all, why spend time and energy trying to stay visible? That logic on its face makes sense, but it's also where the trap begins. Now, let's talk about what visibility actually means here. When people hear the word visibility, they often associate it with noise, posting constantly, or running promotions, or chasing attention. That's not what I'm talking about here. Visibility is not the same as volume. Visibility is mental availability. It's whether your restaurant comes to mind when someone decides where to eat. And that decision usually happens quickly, quietly, and without much thought. Now, let's talk about how customers actually choose the restaurant they're going to dine at. Most dining decisions aren't thoroughly researched, they're just remembered. People don't compare every option that they have. They don't analyze menus. They don't weigh value propositions. They think, what sounds familiar? What feels easy? Who do I already trust to give me a great meal at a fair price with great service? Visibility determines whether you're even considered when people ask those questions. And the truth is, quality only matters after you make that list. Here's why invisibility is so dangerous. Most small independent restaurant owners miss this because invisibility doesn't feel like failure. There's no alarm, there's no sharp drop, there's no obvious signal, no red flags that go off. Traffic just starts to thin. A table here, a night there, a weekend that just feels a little bit lighter than it should. And because it's gradual, it's easy to blame external factors. Seasonality, the economy, timing. Rarely does anyone think, we've disappeared from memory. Even worse yet, silence often feels like discipline. We're focusing on operations. We're conserving energy. We'll show up again later. But customers don't experience silence as restraint. They experience it as an absence, a message that you just have forgotten about them or you're just not interested in them. And absence does not create loyalty, it creates replacement. And this is especially true when budgets are tight and customers have a lot of choices to go with. Here's the uncomfortable truth. A restaurant can survive imperfection. Customers forget a slow night. They forget an off dish. They forget a mistake that gets corrected. Those things happen while you're present, though. They create memory and they create interaction. They create a chance to recover from the mistake in the minds of the customer. But invisibility is more dangerous because invisibility actually removes you from the decision entirely. Customers can't forgive what they don't remember. Now, disappearing and invisibility don't happen in isolation. The effect actually compounds. And here's what I mean. Just like visibility compounds in the minds of diners, so does invisibility. The less you're seen, the less you're remembered. The less you're chosen, the quieter things get. And the quieter things get, the easier it feels to stay quiet. The loop is the actual trap. Now, when most restaurants feel invisible, discounts feel like the obvious solution. They create a temporary spike, right? A moment of attention, a temporary signal. But once that discount ends, visibility often disappears again. Discounts interrupt natural behavior. Visibility shapes natural behavior, and behavior always wins. People always revert to their core behavior. So then, the real question that you should be asking isn't how do we get louder? It's how do we stay present without exhausting ourselves? Visibility that requires heroics, that won't last. Visibility that fits into your reality might last. So we need to reframe the problem. We need to focus on presence over perfection. Restaurants that hold ground during slow months, they aren't perfect. They're present. They remain familiar in the minds of their loyal customers. They remain mentally easy to choose. They don't disappear even when they scale back. The steadiness protects demand when customers are more selective. And again, this happens most frequently when the economy shrinks, when budgets are tight, when people are reviewing their finances. Now, this matters for small independents now more than ever. Now, why do I say that? Well, because customer attention is shrinking. Mental bandwidth is limited. Choices feel overwhelming to most people these days. And when attention narrows, familiarity wins, comfort wins. And familiarity is built quietly, it's built slowly over time, not with bursts, but with presence. So if your restaurant feels just a little bit slower than it should, it's rarely because customers stopped caring. Most likely, it's because they stopped thinking about you. So before we close, remember two things. In the post pandemic economy, having good food just isn't good enough anymore. And if no one walks in the front door of your restaurant, then nothing else matters. I'm Donovan Garrett. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.